So, Janaki, were you able to do that assessment on abstract class and interface?
Uh, no, Sneha, just few minutes back I started, but I'm not able to do that actually today. I'll try to complete it by today and share by tomorrow class.
Okay, yeah, so we'll discuss that. So apart from that, you guys have any questions so far, the topics covered? If not, we'll just give a recap on all the topics whichever we have seen so far. And from tomorrow, we'll be going into the second part, just like collections and streams and threads. So if you have any questions, you can ask me today. So far, you have any questions? So I can start with that, else I can just recap with the topics you want me to cover up. Divya, Kirva, Janaki.
We can do a recap, Sneha.
Okay, so you don't have any questions on the topics? Okay, so
last class I didn't attend. I have to see the video.
okay, it's already uploaded and you can actually have a view on it. And yeah, so is anyone willing to share the screen so we can work on that screen now?
Yeah, I'll do Sneha.
Yeah, okay.
Can you enable that screen sharing?
Yeah, it's enabled. Okay. Okay, what is the toString method is used for? You guys remember?
Convert into a string.
I didn't hear. Did someone say anything? ToString method of the object class. What is the purpose of that?
Convert it to a string. We will use
into a readable format instead of a object code or in a hexa code. We convert into a readable format. Okay. So there is two ways to define your string, right? Janaki, can you just create one more class, like instead of interface? Okay. Can you create a main method? Yeah. So can you create a variable int I equal to some value and assign that I value to a long value, long data type? You don't need to give public, only if it is outside your main, you have to go ahead. Right now, you can just give the data type long and then the specific reference name and assign that value to equal to I. So is it a right way to assign or is it wrong way? Save the file, Control S. So is it, will this throw any exception or will it work fine? So you guys can answer.
This will work fine.
Yeah, why? What is the concept behind that?
Long has more memory compared to int, so it won't.
So basically, it's like from lower to higher, it's more of widening. So the boxing can happen immediately. So there won't be any issues. But if you try to assign a long value to an int, that would not be possible. Now just give int x equal to L. So the error you receive is it cannot convert from long to int. So the widening from lower to higher, that widening can happen. The narrowing cannot be happened in case of any type of wrapping. So that is the reason we have the typecast. So in this, you have any questions in the typecast, the narrowing and the widening concept? Okay. If not, we'll try one more sample. Create a character variable. Equal to, give some character. And now give the character C equal to I. In the next line, you can just give C equal to I. So is it a right way or will it throw an error?
We cannot assign int to character.
Yeah, so it's an incompatible type. This is a compile time error. Okay, so you have to explicitly convert it. Now, can you just print the character C in sysout? Now you can comment the line number 11 and just print C. Will it print integer value or will it print the character Q? Yeah, you have to comment line number 8 as well. Yeah. So what will be the output here?
It will print Q character.
Yeah, character Q.
Character Q. Okay. What if I need to get the character's number instead of Q? I need to get the integer value of that. So what should I do? If I assign int I equal
You mean
to C,
ASCII value?
yeah, I need the ASCII value for that. Can you just make int I equal to C in the next line, like after line number 11? Can you make int I equal to C? Already have a variable I, so you can directly assign I. You don't need to define the data type. Okay, now can you print I over here in sysout? No, just have I. And execute the program. No, don't give a pen. Separate it with double quotes, otherwise it will be concatenated. Your output.
Okay.
Yeah. Now can you execute? Okay. So to get an ASCII value, you need to have it assigned to an integer. And if you want directly only the character, you can just use the character directly, the character variable. So the concept behind this is the type conversion. There are two concepts here. One is widening, another one is narrowing. So widening is nothing but automatic type conversion from lower to higher. If you're trying to convert any format, it will be easily possible. But in the vice versa, like from higher version to lower version, like a double to an int or float to an int, something you're trying to convert from a higher to lower, then that narrowing will not happen directly. For that, you need to explicitly use a typecasting purpose. So let's give one more try with byte. So can you create one more variable byte b equal to I? You have an I variable, right? So just give I. So is it the right way to assign or is it a problem? Don't see that. Because among the 8 variable data types, byte is the lowest one. And if you're trying to convert from assigning an integer to a byte, which is not possible unless you give explicitly a type conversion. So how do you give a type conversion here? Now can you just give this out B? So what value will we get? Right now I has 113. So what will be the byte value? Will it be the same or it will change? Because the byte ranges from -128 to +127, right? So what would be the value for a byte now?
Same as I this time,
Okay, yeah,
since it is in
execute
the
it.
range.
Yeah, okay, execute it. Okay, so now can you just make I equal to more than 250, 257, something like that? Just in line instead of C, make it 257. Give direct value 257. Yeah, and now execute your program again. So what happened to your byte value?
It became 1.
So what is the range for that? Like totally like -128 and +128, right? So the total value of your byte is 256. So when you do a modulus of 256, your remainder is just 1. And that is the byte value you have got it in the line number 18. So can we try one more thing? Just create double variable and give some value like 323 something, some random. Give 3-digit number. Okay. Now try to do the same conversion as you did in line number 17, but for the double value instead of integer. No.
You
Line number
assign it to
17, just copy the same line, but instead of I, replace with D. No, have it. Okay, fine. Okay, yeah. Now can you print your B, like same line number 18, can you copy it and then paste? And then now execute it. What would be the output here? Can someone guess it? Will we get the same 235 or will that get varied? Any
It
guesses?
is within the range, right? So we'll get the same value.
Try again,
I
execute
think
it.
it will be a negative number,
Okay,
-108 maybe.
minus
108, I guess.
108. Okay,
Not sure.
okay, let's see.
Okay, -21. 2's complement, right?
Yeah, so the 256, right? So 35, 45, 55, and 56. So 21. And that is with the negative value. Okay, can you try with some other range? Like instead of 235, can you just make it to 435? Yeah, and execute it again. So what would be the output here? Try your guesses. Before executing, can you all try it once manually?
Can you explain this 1 and -21 ones, Snehal? Like
So
it
your
is
byte
above.
ranges from -128 to +128, which is like total count is 256, right? 128 plus 128 is 256. So that is your byte value. So whenever you get an integer, it will actually divide it by 256 and whatever is remainder, that would be your output.
Okay.
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 Yeah. So now can you try it like 435? So your byte is 256. So what if we divide 256 with 435 and what would be the output there? Leave the precision values. Just tell me the whole number.
-77.
Minus or plus?
77. I think minus.
May not be minus. Okay. Others? Janaki and Divya, do you have any ideas? Just guess it. If it's wrong, no problem. Okay, execute it, Janet.
-27 or something like that.
Okay, let's see. Execute it. So what is the value? You said the same one, 71 or 77, Kiriba?
Yeah, I said the same one.
Okay.
512 minus 435.
Okay. So you have any confusions here, Janaki?
You said modulus of 257, right? Like remainder will be the value, right? Like whatever we get.
Yeah. So it's like 2 power n. So n will be your complemented value. Okay. So like in this, like in data types, you don't have any confusions, right? So can we go ahead with the wrapper class in the same scenario? So now can you just parse your value of integer dot parsent with a string value?
You want to try a sparse int, right? Like for my integer.
So the
value.
parsent method is available in your integer, right?
Integer, yeah.
So
I
integer
need to
dot
create the
parsent. So
object for
parsent accepts 2 parameters, either a string or a int value. So you remember that or you forgot? Integer dot, you have a static method.
yeah.
So what does the parsent accepts?
It accepts string.
So we have one more method. What is that method? You guys remember? Apart from parsent, there's also one more method
Value
to
of-
convert your data. Yeah, value.
Value
So
of-
what does the attributes does that accept?
Value of it accepts primitive data type.
Yeah, as well as string. So now can you go with parse int and then give some string value, means integer value in string format. And what would be the return type of parsent?
Int, right?
If you're not sure, just over on the parsent method, it will help you to know that. Go to that method, parsent, click on that and go into it. Yeah, so it returns a primitive value. And this also gives you an explanation on throws number format. So what is the difference between throw and throws? Can you tell, Janaki? I think you were there on that session.
Yeah. Throws, it is like at the declaration, like it just gives awareness to place like where we are invoking that.
So which one, throw or throws?
Throws.
Okay.
Like at the starting name itself, we will indicate like some exception is going to happen inside this block something. So in that place, we will use throws, right?
Okay, then when do we use throw keyword?
Throw to tell like what error we get actually. So in that case, we will use inside the block, we will use the throw to tell explicitly like what kind of exception error.
Okay. So like it's a number format exception, is a checked exception or an unchecked exception? Like what is the difference between checked and unchecked?
Checked is during compile time actually.
So something which
So,
can test it before
Very-
execution of your program is checked exception, and something which you get it known only after execution is called as unchecked exceptions. So the number format exception happens in checked or unchecked.
Unchecked, right? Only during runtime, like
During
based on the
runtime,
output.
you will get to know it. Yeah. Okay.
Know
Fine.
it.
So we will be able to handle those exceptions. Can we handle them?
Only checked exceptions we can handle, right? Like unchecked.
No. Generally, any kind of exceptions will we be able to handle?
Yeah, we can
using
able to handle using the
dash
catch and
dash block.
catch. Yeah, catch.
Yeah. So now can you go to your class? Yeah. Now just assign to the integer variable, int data type, assign that. In line number 24, assign it to an int variable, the
Oh.
parsed int value. Yeah. Int, you're assigning to the same.
want to-
Okay, fine, cool. Now execute your program. No, you already have I. Okay, yeah, cool. Now can you execute this program?
Yeah, sure.
So right now you're passing only an input. So you didn't get any exception. Now, can you try to give
You want
5 with some other string? Just give A, B or something in after 5. Yeah. Now try to execute it again. Okay.
1 minute. I'll just print.
You
the
have
code.
to give I2.
Yeah.
Save it. And then run your program. So we get an exception right now. I want you to handle this exception. So how do you write it? What is the blocks you need to use it?
We will use try for
Yeah. So
try
try is
block
the
here.
place where you write a piece of code where you assume that that piece of code can give you any kind of errors or exceptions. And if that piece of code is giving you exceptions, you need to handle them, right? You need to catch them somewhere, whatever the piece of code error is thrown from that particular block. For that, you have a cache block where you handle that. If you're pretty sure which exception is going to throw, you can handle the respective exception. If you're not sure, you can just go to the topmost class of your exception, which is exception class, and you can handle that within your cache block. And within the cache block, you can just have e dot print stack trace. So this method helps you to give you the complete flow of where the error is being triggered from and which line number and how can we handle. So it gives you complete detail, like what you see in the console. The same way it gives you complete stack trace, and it's usable only when you're in a development phase and not in the production application or any live application. In that case, we'll just log the messages and will not print the stack trace. Okay. So now you have within the try block, in the cache block, you have written the code. So always when you write a piece of code, try to follow the indentation. And the shortcut key for your indentation is you have to select the lines from 24 to 30, like 29. Control A. Yeah. Give Control Shift F. Okay. Yeah. So always try to follow an indentation that helps you for any kind of blocks. If you're missing a parenthesis or not, it will help you over there. So right now you have used try and cache block. And can we have finally block? Like we'll have one more block called finally after line number 29. And within that, just give us a sys-out. So Kiriba, you were not present on this class, right? You have any queries on this exception?
Exception, just check the first half of the video, second half I need to
Okay,
complete.
okay, yeah. So have a look, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah, okay.
So in sys-out, just print something, Janaki, just some statement. Yeah, fine. Semicolon. So the finally block is though you get exceptions or not, that will get executed every time. So it's kind of like by default, the piece of code in finally will get executed, though you have an exception or not. That is the purpose in finally. Like once you start using the file handling, you'll get to know why finally block is much required. But right now the finally is just an awareness that it will execute any piece of code, though you get an exception or not. Now try to execute your program. Okay. So now what happened is, can you scroll a little up? Can you expand your console? Yeah. So since you have printed print stack trace, you got that exception completely printed. And inside the finally block, whatever statement you have given, that also got executed post your exception handle. So we can handle our exceptions by giving the particular exception piece within your cache block. If you don't want a stack trace, if you want to bypass that, if you don't want to print that as an error, you want to bypass it with some other value, or you want to handle it explicitly if you're getting a string, some kind of input, in that case, you can check it in the place before passing your data. So integer.parseIt, you can give a check condition, like if your data, whatever is passed, is only a numerical value, or is it having an extra alphanumeric data as well. You can do a check on that, and post that you can handle your number format exception in the cache block. So the basic way to handle any kind of exception is within your cache block. And there's also one more thing called null pointer exception. So does that fall into checked exception or unchecked exception?
That is also unchecked exception, right? Like null.
So that is also an unchecked exception. Why so?
Because null value maybe depends on the output we get for that variable.
Okay. So I'll give you one more assignment. You can try that. Instead of giving me a number as 2000 or 3000, I want to give like 3,000, 4,000, or 40,000. So I want you to pass something like that and see what is happening. So can you try? You can try now, or else you can take it as an assignment as well. Basically, like instead of giving a value, you are giving in an Indian format, like 40,000, 40,000. So try to format that value and see what is the value you are receiving. You're getting an exception.
For the integer variable you're saying, or?
Yeah, you're going to pass 40,000 or 50,000. And because that's a numeric value, but will it accept comma operator or not when you're parsing it? Is something I want you to try it out.
There is one number formatter class, right?
I didn't get you.
There is one number formatter class, right?
Yeah, we have a formatter. We didn't explore that yet. That will be done in the next 2 classes. So that is the reason I'm asking you to try it out now.
That's a challenge that I'm facing currently in HackerRank.
Okay.
Number format one.
Okay. Yeah. So in Java, like if you give something in the Indian format, it will not be accepted. So you have to explicitly parse it using the proper formatter. So the formatted part is something it's still pending from our side. That will be experiencing that for all the data types. For decimal format or for any string format, or you also have a formatter for your sysout statement, and how do you format it? So all the println statements can also be formatted. So all those formatters will be checking it by next class. So I want you to try that way. So instead of 5A, try to format it using 40K or 50K, some value which is separated with your comma operator, and see whether that works for you. Your system is able to understand or not. Okay. So apart from this type conversion, what are the 5 concepts of OOPS? So can someone say precisely what is what?
Encapsulation, polymorphism.
Yeah, just go ahead, go with sequential order, so that would be easier. So first one, what is first part?
First is encapsulation, right?
No. So what are you going to encapsulate?
Like we will hide the information. Like,
yeah, you're going to hide the information, but before that, what is object? What is class left? Just give me a very precise information about what is what.
Class is like a blueprint.
Sorry.
Object, classes or object encapsulation, then inheritance, polymorphism.
Okay. So what is an object? Why silence?
Object is an entity. It has some data.
Yeah, it has data, but there are some 3 properties you have, right, as an object. So I can create an object for mobile. It can be an iPhone, it can be a Samsung, or it can be a LG mobile phone, any kind of thing. So for me, as an end user, the real-time perspective will come into as an object, but the blueprint of that mobile will fall into the class structure. So what are the 3 properties we look in as an object? The state, behavior, and the identity, right? So what is a state here? So when is your object has complete state? It's like fully created state. When do we say the object has a fully created state? I just have a mobile iPhone semicolon. I have mobile iPhone equal to new mobile. So which is a fully created object here?
Second one, right? Like new mobile.
Yeah, so be confident, right? Why so confusion in that? So whenever you create an object with new keyword, only then your object has a complete memory reference in your heap memory. Otherwise, it is just a reference variable. It will be in your stack and it will not have any memory allocation created. Right? Okay. So what is encapsulation? Like when do we go for encapsulation? Why again silence? Speak out.
When we want to
When we
secure
want
the
to
data.
hide any data.
Yeah, hide any data. Like, so hide what kind of data you're going to hide?
If we want kind of user password, we will hide.
So confidential data. Okay. Okay. So basically the encapsulation is kind of, you're not exposing your data unless they wanted to access it explicitly using the relevant public methods, which is your mutators and
Accesses, like mutators or accesses.
mutators or not, mutators and accessors, not or.
Getter.
So getters and setters have a different name called mutators and accessors. Accessors are your getters and mutators are your setters. So there's a word we heard earlier, immutable. So immutable is the values cannot be changed. Whereas in mutators, you're using your setter and you're going to change the value of that particular attribute. So that is the reason you get the name called mutators in terms of your encapsulation. And in terms of your wrapper classes or in the other form like string, you might have heard the word called immutable. Okay. Okay. What is polymorphism?
More than one form.
Okay. So what are the different types of polymorphism we have addressed so far?
Compile
Types of
time
polymorphism.
polymorphism.
What?
Runtime polymorphism. Compile time polymorphism. Runtime.
Yeah. So what is the other name for compile time?
Method
Overloading,
Overloading. And for runtime?
overwriting.
Overriding. So is it possible for us to implement overriding in a normal class or only in any kind of relationship? That is only through inheritance.
Override only in inheritance. Right?
Yeah. So overriding can happen only if you have a relation between two classes, whereas an overloading can happen with explicitly without any dependency on the classes.